Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. I've been threatening to do a mini course on poetry, and it's been bouncing around in my head. I've been thinking of it, and I went to my videos and I clicked on to line them up according to the most viewed. You can do most viewed or recently or most discussed, and I put on the most viewed, and 5 of the 10 least viewed videos are poems. So I have a lot of viewers who think poetry is just a bunch of crap, which I can't blame them for because they probably only have read E.E. Cummings. So I'm going to start with just some poems. I'm just going to read some good poems. That's how we're going to start out here. We'll talk about those a little bit, analyze them, but just get some good poems on the table, and then later we'll go into the principles of it and do all that good stuff. And the first poem I want to read is by myself, non-rhyming poetry. I am surrounded by those who believe that rhythm and beat in a poem is unseemly. Thinking of them, I can but grieve, so I just forget them and proceed serenely. I want to hear an echo, and it's in response to a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. There is a feeling rare to men, a feeling of alone, with a special type of pain in it, for most men pain unknown. The pain is disappointment, and its voice is heard to say, I listened for an echo, but I heard only praise. So that's that poem. That's out of the way now. We will go next to one of my favorite poems, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Described by one of my college professors as sing-songy, and she said that derisively. And one of the reasons I like this poem is because it is sing-songy. I don't think that's a bad quality for poems. So, here we are. Whose woods these are I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake, to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So that's a good poem, a lovely sing-songy poem, which again is a good quality for a poem, not a bad quality. Next I'm going to do another poem of mine. This is a little bit lengthy. It's called Places of Learning, and it's about why I dropped out of college and what I plan to do afterwards. Colleges and universities are places of learning. In it 4 years now, a degree I am earning, or that at least is the plan that is offered when through many courses I've dully suffered. In classes taught by wise professors, I'll grow a beautiful plume of feathers, and yet I perceive my feathers are plucked, and from the nest I'll soon be shook. For things beamed at me by erudite teachers require one's faith and are more fit for preachers. They say my reality is made by perception, built by my mind, the perfect deception. They tell me the world is all an illusion, and I wonder how they escape the confusion. In quantum mechanics, this thought is treasured. A thing isn't real until it's been measured. But if this is so, which measurements show it? And if something's unreal, how could anyone know it? Einstein said subatomic cause and effect, not understood now, may be someday yet. They speak of the poor downtrodden have-nots, and say government health care is spotty in spots. Western doctors don't know the real human needs. Alternative medicine they prefer, indeed. Evolution, they say, hasn't answered all questions. Intelligent design is the offered succession. E.E. Cummings they offer as new poetry, but it has no rhyme or rhythm or beat. They give us James Joyce, who penned Ulysses, and tell us this nonsense is full of deep mysteries. A mystery is right, but they haven't a hint. The question is, how did this crap get to print? As painterly genius they offer us Pollock, who drunk smears his canvas in meaningless frolic. Picasso they label revolutionary, but his paintings were gasps of the fodder canary. As reason is smothered, what are we hearing? My God, can it be? The people are cheering. And these are the learned men of the time? The feast of unreason, on nonsense they dine. God help us all to escape a dark ages. In every field we need newborn sages. As an atheist, I know to not kneel and pray. A rebirth of reason must bring back the day. And so, my professors, I bid you adieu. I'll drop out of college and start my own school. Perhaps my favorite line in that poem, of my many favorite, I love that poem, but perhaps my favorite line, as reason is smothered, what are we hearing? My God, can it be? The people are cheering. So, reason, freedom, and liberty are not just automatic values. People have to know something in order to know that those are valuable. Now, for those of you who are heavy into philosophy, the next poem will be interesting for you. And if you like Picasso, you might disagree. But here we are. It's called Picasso. He sensed the presence of madness and saw his chance for fame. Without learning the painterly art, he could give as profound the inane. He saw that art was corrupted, egalitarianized, to the lowest common divisor from the values the Renaissance prized. The stuff he made they call art, though that's just a sign of the times, a symptom of the corruption, a signal of reason's demise. The stuff he painted was nonsense, random, chaotic trash, hostile to reason and purpose, destructive, hateful, and crass. Today it is called abstract art. This corruption does have a source. His name is Immanuel Kant, irrational without remorse. Immanuel Kant is the motive at base. His fallacies trace back to Descartes. Descartes brought Plato back from disgrace, and here we find the chain starts. So it turns out we have Plato to thank for creating all this insanity and making occur in our world today a state of boastful inanity. So there you are, a poem tracing Picasso back to Plato through Descartes and Immanuel Kant. Next poem I'll read here, we got two little poems on the nature of poetry, sort of. And we're going to start with Poetry's Virtue. That's the name of the poem. This is also by myself. What sanctifies poetry? What is its virtue? What brings a good line to life? What makes a good rhyme ring true? Music is sugar for the ear. A poem is sweet in this way. Rhyme is sugar one hears. Meter is words' joyful play. A poem with no rhyme or time in its verse sours the ear, same as a curse. The next one is titled Non-Rhyming Poetry. I am surrounded by those who believe that rhythm and beat in a poem is unseemly. Thinking of them, I can but grieve, so I just forget them and proceed serenely. Fantastic short poem, short and sweet, to the point. That's the end of the poems of mine that I'll be reading. The next poem I'll read is by Burton Braley, B-R-A-L-E-Y. And it's titled The Joy of Life. I'd rather risk gamely and lose for my trying than grind around tamely, a cog in the mill. I'd rather fail greatly with courage undying than plod on sedately with never a thrill.